In this lesson, we get to look at the idea of the least common multiple. And this is going to be a really important concept because when we get to fractions, we want to get common denominators, and those common denominators are least common multiples. So let's get an idea of what a common multiple is, and then we'll talk about the least common multiple. So example 1, identify the common multiples of 4 and 6. So multiples are when really we can count by that number. So skip counting if you know that term. So here we have the multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40. We'll go all the way up to like a 4 times 12, so 48. And then multiples of 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, and we're going to stop there, and these do keep going. So identify the common multiples. Well, I'm going to kind of start with I'm going to read across this list and see if there's anything as I read that's in the list below it. So 4, 8, well, there's a 12. See, there's a 12 in both. 16, no. 20, no. 24, there's a 24 in both. 28, 32, 36. 40, 44, 48. So there's just several of them. There's many, many more. So the common multiples are 12, 24, 36, 48. Actually, seems like there's a pattern here. It looks like every 12. But there are some common multiples of 4 and 6. Well, now what we want to do is talk about the idea of least common multiple. So out of those common multiples, we want to find the one that is the least. So here you see it says the least common multiple. LCM is going to be the abbreviation we say a lot and use a lot. Of 2 or more numbers is the smallest positive common multiple of the given numbers. So the smallest positive common multiple. So back to our example above, we would just look at the smallest. So there's 12. That's the least common multiple of 4 and 6. We're going to look at 2 main methods of finding the least common multiple. We're going to do it by listing, which is kind of what we were doing up top in this first example. And then we're going to use a method that uses prime factorization, which we learned a few lessons ago. So there's 4 things here, 4 examples really. Skill check, find the LCM, least common multiple, by listing multiples. All right, well, we'll list them. As you get better at this, you're going to be able to do this mentally and figure out what the least common multiple for several smaller numbers and ones that we're more familiar with. So 4, the common multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Multiples of 5, and this is we're only doing 2 numbers, so as soon as we find a common multiple, we can stop because it will be the least one as we list them. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and there we can stop because we see here's a 20 and here's a 20. They're both common multiples. And it's the least common multiple, so we can say the least common multiple is 20. All right, let's move across to the next one. We have 7 and 14. Well, this one's really easy because we list 7, 14, and we already know that 14 is a multiple of 14. So we don't even have to go any further. We could. We have 24, 21, 28. So here is our least common multiple. There's another common multiple of 28, but the least common multiple is 14, which is a good fact to know, or a good thing to understand, that you actually could get one of the numbers. All right, least common multiple of 6 and 9. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 9, 18, and there we have it, common multiple. And it is the least common multiple, so 18 is our least common multiple. Next example shows us we can even do it with 3 numbers. We can do it with even more than 3 numbers, but here's 3 numbers. So let's start listing the multiples of 6, which we've done a few times already this lesson. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. Multiples of 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Multiples of 15, 15, 30, 45, 60. Well, you notice here, did you catch it? We had a 30 in each of these. So 30 is our least common multiple. That's a very good way to find least common multiples, is just thinking through your factors. Hopefully you're getting better and better at your multiplication facts, and you can even think through these without listing them. Sometimes we can just think through, like 4 and 5. We know the least common multiple is 20. So that's one method. And don't forget that method once we get to this next one, because this first method is very useful, especially when dealing with numbers that we're familiar with. All right, the next one, finding the least common multiple, known as the LCM, using prime factorization. So there's 3 steps to this. It says find the prime factorization of the given numbers and write in exponent form. Once you do that, you're going to circle the highest power of each different prime number. So we need all the highest power. So realize the highest power could be 1. And we'll talk through that shortly. And find the product using the highest power of each prime factor. So these are the ones that we're circling. So the circled ones. All right, let's try it out. So first we need to do prime factorization. Well, 25 is pretty easy. It's 5 times 5. So over here we'll write 25 is equal to 5 squared, because we want to write it in exponent form. 55 really isn't that bad either. 55 we know is 5 times 11. Those are both prime numbers. So 55 is 5 times 11. All right, now what it says, so that was step 1. Step 2, circle the highest power of each different prime factor. All right, so looking across here, we have a 5 squared and a 5. Which one is higher? Well, which one has the higher exponent? This one has the higher exponent. Realize that 5 down here just has an exponent of 1. Now looking across, we have we just have the 5 squared and the 25. And then for 55, we have 5 times 11. We need to circle that 11. That's 11 to the first, and that's actually the highest power. I mentioned that the highest power could be 1. So if a factor shows up in any of the numbers that we're talking to, we have to use it. So the last step then, our LCM, is going to be the product of those circled ones. So 5 squared times 11. Let's go ahead and multiply that out. 5 squared times 11, 5 squared is 25, times 11. And then off to the side somewhere, you might want to do 25 times 11. 5, 2, 0, 5, and 2. And so add those, we get 275. So 275 is the least common multiple of 25 and 55. All right, this next part, the skill check, already gives you the prime factorization. So it's trying to save you a little time here by not having to do the prime factorization and just getting used to what you're supposed to look for. So if you look at our steps, really they've already done number 1. They found the prime factorization. So we want to do step 2 and 3. We want to circle the highest power of each different prime factor. So for 9, so I'm down here looking at the skill check. Actually, I'll just move it to here. 9 is 3 squared. So in 12, there's also a 3. Well, what has the higher exponent? The 3 squared does. And then there's no other factors of 9, but there is a 2 squared, so we need that. And so our answer is going to be 2 squared times 3 squared, the ones that we have circled. 2 squared times 3 squared, and then we want to figure out what that equals. 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, and then 4 times 9 is 36. So the least common multiple of 9 and 12 is 36. Looking at the next one, in number 2, 18 is 2. There's no other 2's. That is the highest exponent. And then there's a 3 squared, but there's a 3 cubed down with 27, so we want the higher one. So we need the 2 circled things, 2 times 3 cubed. Well, 3 cubed, we actually know from right here is 27, so 2 times 27, multiply that, that's 54. So the least common multiple of 18 and 27 is 54. 21 is 3 times 7. 28 is 2 squared times 7. So looking at 21, there's a 3. There's no 3's anywhere else, so we need that 3. There's a 7. That's a 7 to the first, and the one with 28 is 7 to the first. Either one is fine. You don't circle both. It says the highest. Well, 1 is the highest, so there we go. We'll circle that one. And then under 28, we have a 2 squared, and we need that because that's the highest exponent of a factor of 2. And so, in order, we have a 2 squared times 3 times 7. Well, 2 squared is 4 times 3 times 7. 4 times 3 is 12. And then 12 times 7 is 84. So the least common multiple of 21 and 28 is 84. And our last one has 3 numbers. So looking at all 3 of them now, we have a 2 squared, a 2, and a 2 cubed. We want the highest. Well, that is 2 cubed. Then we have a 5, a 5, a 5, and a 5. Well, 5 is the highest, so just circle one of those 5s. And then don't miss this 3 in here with a 30. There's 1 3. And so we have a 2 cubed times a 3 times a 5. 2 cubed, it's 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. Times 3 times 5. 8 times 3 is 24. Times 5. And then 24 times 5, we need to figure out what that is. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 10, 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So we have 120. All right. So number 4, the least common multiple of 20, 30, and 40 is 120. Looking at number 5 and 6, find the LCM of each pair of numbers. Well, this time we aren't given the prime factorization, so we're going to have to find it. So 40, well, we know that's 4 times 10. 4 is 2 times 2, and 10 is 2 times 5. And then 100, that's 10 and 10, which is a 2 times 5, and another 2 times 5. So I think we can list them here. 40 is 1, 2, 3, 3 2s, so 2 cubed times 5. And then 100 is 2 times 2, so 2 squared times 5 squared. So our LCM, the way that we're going to find that, we have a 2 cubed and a 2 squared. Well, we pick the higher. That's 2 cubed. And then out of a 5 and a 5 squared, obviously the 5 squared is higher. And so our LCM is going to be 2 cubed times 5 squared. 2 cubed, that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, and 5 squared is 25. And 8 times 25 is 200. So the least common multiple of 40 and 100 is 200. All right, 60 and 75. Our last one, 60. 6 times 10. You could have done 2 times 30 or 20 times 3 or several other options, but we'll go with 6 times 10. So 6 is 2 times 3. 10 is 2 times 5. And then 75, that's 3 times 25. And then 25 is 5 times 5. All right. So 60 is 2 squared times 3 times 5. And then 75 is 3 times 5 squared. So our LCM, well, we have a 2 squared. We have a 3 and a 3 here. We just need one of them. They're both to the first. And then a 5 and a 5 squared. We definitely need the 5 squared. And so we have 2 squared times 3 times 5 squared. This is going to be 4 times 3 times 25, which is 12 times 25. And 12 times 25 is 300. So the least common multiple of 60 and 75 is 300. So that is our lesson on least common multiple. You can use this video to help you with your assignment.